We did it! We start the day after exiting tiny Almenal by walking through another eucalyptus forest. Don't quite understand the impulse to dump used sneakers along the trail. Maybe someone can explain it to me. Along the way, we come across more and more vendors with the implication, here's our last chance to get this stuff. Trust me, it isn't. Soon, the way skirts past the north end of the Santiago airport, although it may not be obvious. And then we reach Santiago, 4 kilometers into our last day. Oh yeah, that's right. It's the last day. Some people will go as far as they can and get as close as they can to Santiago, so the last day is a short one and they get there early. And others, I don't know who, might actually want to savor these last couple of days. As for me, still not quite sure whether I'm happy this is almost over, or maybe a little disappointed. I'm not sure I'm going to find out until I see that cathedral in front of me. We're still more than 10 kilometers from Santiago, but already the atmosphere in the woods is filled with expectant triumph. Well, at least for some. As always, don't bother the Camino cats, and they won't bother you. Another 3.4 kilometers of walking brings us to the Rio Seonila, just outside of Lavacoya. This is perhaps the strangest name given a town, maybe anywhere. Lavacoya comes from the Latin lavamentula, which means wash private parts. It gets even more specific than that. Now, apparently, pilgrims in the Middle Ages were not too keen on bathing while they walked along the Camino. However, they became quite conscious of their stink and they wanted to wash up before entering Santiago, especially the cathedral. So they came across this small stream, stripped, and washed off the dirt. And according to one account, they paid special attention to their private parts. As for me, I took a shower the night before. From here, the route goes through Via Mayor and more forest for a few minutes.
The flies are on you. They're eating you.
Clearly, we are approaching the city. As you might recall, in the past, we've seen chain link fences with crosses woven into the wire. Turns out, some people don't want that done to their fences. The route turns left at this sign for a football field, and then we walk through the suburb known as Monte de Gozo. When pilgrims of the past got to this hilltop overlooking Santiago, they were so giddy, they started to sing. And then, like little children, they raced each other to the cathedral. These days, the view is not inspiring a whole lot of joy right now. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm rather excited that there's only 5 kilometers to go. But this urban landscape below us is a little underwhelming. Unlike the travelers during the Middle Ages, we walk, not run, down Rua de Gozo and enter another Santiago suburb called San Lazaro. The city suddenly hits us squarely in the eyes and ears. Oh my gosh, we're almost there. And finally, yes, finally, we enter the old city on Rua das Casas Reais. We must be getting close, but the narrow street seems to stretch forever. I get flashbacks to the weeks that have led up to this. I barely feel the pavement under my boots. A gentle euphoria cleanses my thoughts. At the Plaza Cervantes, we veer right past more vendors taking a last shot at our euros, but buying a Camino trinket is the last thing on my mind. We check our GPSs to make sure we're on the right route.
Stay on this all the way till we see it and we just turn.
In the dark of a long archway, we can see the sunlit Praça do Obradoiro. And then, to our left, is the Cathedral de Santiago de Compostela. A few tears between us. We did this together, after all. Camino travelers mill about the plaza, seemingly dazed by their accomplishments. It makes me wonder what this scene was like 1,000 years ago, when the pilgrimage was more about shedding one's sins through this long act of devotion. Okay, so let's imagine you were a pilgrim in the Middle Ages and you just arrived here. Not quite sure if you felt any different having your sins absolved, but okay, let's drop that for a minute. I guess the next thing you would want to do is go into the cathedral and pass by St. James's bones. Now, if you were a typical pilgrim, you probably believe that if you had any infirmities, just being in the presence of those bones would heal you. From there, celebrations, and then you finally have to turn around and walk back the way you came. As for us, our next task is to get our Compostela, or Certificate of Completion, at the Pilgrim office, which is a touch hard to find. Go to the back of the plaza, and as you're facing the cathedral, head left to Rua das Corretas. Once at the office's nondescript front door, we take a picture of the QR code on the sign, which opens a website where we register. That gets us an appointment. And And when our number comes up, we talk to a friendly Camino representative who issues the Compostela after verifying our Pilgrim passport has all the necessary stamps. After checking into our hotel, our next visit is to the cathedral and to experience the Pilgrim Mass. Be prepared for a crowd. While you don't have to be Catholic to attend, they do limit the throng to pilgrims only.
Buenos días, silencio, por favor. Shh. Por favor, las visitas en silencio.
Quiet pilgrims. Along with listing the different countries of those who had registered that day for a Compostela and other pilgrim-related announcements, there is a sermon.
El mismo modo, cantaba la cena fernanda, dándole carnes de barbacoas a los niños tomar y beber los de.
I suppose for some, the highlight of the Mass is the lighting of incense in a metal canister called a thurible, which is then swung from a chain over our heads. I've never ended a hiking trip this way, but for some reason, it fit perfectly as a conclusion to our Camino walk. Finally, do people now believe the bones in Santiago actually belong to James? Well, even the church has backed off on that claim. Now, it doesn't get a lot of press, but in 1897, the church authorized an excavation for the bones. After a bit of searching, they found them. And when they pieced them together, they found they had 3 people, not 1. Now, I'm absolutely certain none of those bones actually belong to James, because I'm absolutely certain James never came to Spain. But so what if it's a myth? We don't need to prove a fiction is real. As far as I'm concerned, walking the Camino is strictly between me and my feet, me and my head, me and my heart. And I forgot about the myth other than the fact it brought me to the experiences I had. Isn't that enough?